Welcome to week 5 of my video newsletter. If this is your first time tapping in, my name is Alice Foy. I am the team operations strategist here at the Digital Jane. I started recording a video for every weekly newsletter about 5 weeks ago because I realized that sometimes we do not have time to scroll and read a whole long thing, right? You may want to just listen, you may want to watch. It also depends on your learning style. And so I'm happy that this is working. Please feel free to respond to this clip, leave a comment. I love getting engagement on these and having, free flowing conversations, even in emails. So over the past 5 weeks, we have talked about how to properly vet candidates. We have talked about training and onboarding mistakes. We've even talked about unspoken expectations. This week, I want to talk about how what you expect may be different than what your team members' perception is, how they interpret what they're responsible for, okay? And it's common. With all the teams that I have consulted over the years, I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, there's a difference between the two. There's a difference between what you expect and what they know to do, or even what they have the information to do, okay? So I first want to say that I hope all of this is like connecting for you, that everything that we've covered so far is connecting and you understand how it can impact performance. Not because I'm an HR girly, because I stay in my lane, but efficiency and productivity are two things that are results of the work that I do, right? And so in order for me to get you that result, we have to look at the root. We have to look at, where do things start? Where did this start that you have a team member that isn't performing well? They don't know how to use the systems. They are confused about the process. People are working over each other. How do we get to that point, right? That's why I started at the very beginning. So if you stick with this journey, I'm going to be going from start to finish, from the point of vetting all the way to offboarding, and we are moving right along, okay? And also, if you watch to the end of this video, I am going to give you a simple 3-step exercise that you can do to determine if what you expect is different than how the team member interprets it, okay? So keep watching. So first, I want to say that there is oftentimes not enough consistency and information for a team member to develop a predictable scope of work, right? And when I say predictable scope of work, I mean they know what to do. They have ownership over this. People know to go to them for it. Their days have some routine, and then there's room for other stuff to come up because that's normal, right? But there is a predictability about their workflow that allows them to really have ownership over it. When you don't provide enough information or consistency for a team member to have predictability in their work, they're in like this you're probably delegating in a reactive way, and they're just kind of on standby waiting for the next thing to come at them. Like, have you ever had a standby ticket? Have you ever had a buddy pass? In a buddy pass, if you've never had one, you don't have a guaranteed seat. You're kind of just sitting at the gate and you're waiting and hoping that something opens, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to get on the flight, even though you have this ticket. It's so much different than knowing that you have an American flight, you book seat AA and where you're going to sit, and it's just a different experience. It feels different. The flight is more calming because you know you have a guaranteed seat, right? That's even different than flying Southwest, where you don't really know where you're going to sit. You may have a window seat, you may sit in the middle. So it can change, but I use that analogy to say that predictability brings comfort, it brings consistency, it brings a little bit more ease. And in the event that something changes, if something new comes up, if something new is like added, then like it's like, okay, but for the most part, this was predictable for me, right? So I want you to think about your team member scope of work in a way that provides them that predictable insight to allow the ownership to happen. If you're wondering why it feels like you have to constantly delegate stuff and you're like, hey, I got to tell them every time, it's because they probably don't know. They can't anticipate a rhythm for their work. The next thing I want to share is that it is okay if you have, this is a new position and you don't know enough yet about what you need or what fits into this scope of work, right? In order to give them that clarity. It just means that you have to do some work in order to make sure that as you're going along, not only is the information being captured as you develop it, but that you are also like, weeding out what doesn't fit. One of the bigger mistakes that I've been seeing made over and over again is that, like, we're finding a generic job description. It kind of sounds like what we're looking for, and we use that without customizing it. That is a huge mistake. So let's do this exercise today to make sure that the job descriptions are accurate, the scope of work, the contract, whatever you're working from is accurate for your team members. So first, I want you to choose a role that you feel like is lacking clarity. Let's just do one for now. I want you to find their job description or their scope of work, whichever one it applies, if you have a contractor, if you have an employee. And from there, I want you to review this job description or this scope of work and cross out anything that's like pie in the sky. You haven't even gotten there yet. They're not currently doing it. Even if it was a wish list item, okay? We need to be in the present. If they're not going to do it over the next 90 days, cross it out. The next thing I want you to do is make stars next to anything that has happened. Like this, these are the things they're actually doing. Let's make stars by those, okay? And then last, I want you to write in anything that has come up that maybe wasn't a part of the job description, but this person has been handling. I want you to write that in. Okay. Now, for the second half of this exercise, I want you to have your team member do the exact same thing. Give them the same instructions I gave you to review the job description, to cross out anything they're not currently doing, to make stars next to what they are doing, and then also to write in anything that is not a part of the job description currently that they are going to do, or that they are currently doing. Now, once you have them, I want you to compare and contrast both. There is probably a difference. I can almost 99.9% bet that there's a difference between what you wrote and what they understand, okay? And before I close out, know that our workflow discovery process, our service is here for you, okay? We go through up to 4 team members, job descriptions, contracts, or scope of works. We will note where more clarity is needed. We'll then have one-on-one interviews with each of your team members to help them document their daily, monthly, weekly, and quarterly workflows, and even as needed things. Putting that on paper is a huge step, and it provides so much clarity to team members who are like, I really don't know how to anticipate. Let's document it so that you can. Once that's done, we go through a process of refinement. We're looking for a scope overlap between team members. We are looking for areas where they can collaborate better. We're also looking for scope creep, things that are part of the scope of work that shouldn't be. And last but not least, something that's best is like reassigning duties as needed. Sometimes there are things that you're doing and managing that a team member needs to be doing, and we want to make sure that we're evaluating across the board so that reassignment can happen. Once we're done, we present it to you in an overview of all 4 of your team members, up to 4 team members. We'll also make note of any processes that are missing, if they need any SOPs or an additional training. If there's technology that, productivity tools and things that you can use to better support your process to make it more efficient. So over the course of 3 weeks, we can help you to gain that clarity. And I am offering this partnership opportunity to up to 2 teams this quarter. It is an intensive process, but so worth it. And it is one of the best steps to making sure that everybody who's on your team currently and even in the future have clarity into the standards and the expectations so that everybody's on the same page. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great week. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Tuesday.